Hey guys, tonight is Thursday, June 5th, 2014, and I'm doing a podcast on getting out of a slump. I'm calling it an autobiography because I would probably say that I'm in a little bit of a slump. If I had to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, I would give it a 4. I recognize that I'm not my normal self, and I decided to do this podcast because I have seen some of the questions that you've asked me about how to get out of one and how to deal with, major disappointments, or how to deal with creative blocks, or how to deal with fatigue. You ever, sometimes you're just tired. Like, I will tell you that I am tired. I'm very tired. Um, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and that's nobody's fault but my own. I wouldn't even say it's my fault. It's just something that I do, and I've taken on a lot of responsibilities, and I'm just doing some things I've never done before. It's like that feeling of just being stretched, which is a wonderful thing, but sometimes it makes us it fatigues us, and it makes us feel slumpy, and we don't want to be there forever. I'm gonna say this: there is a crazy thunderstorm happening right now in Atlanta, and so hoping my power doesn't go out. But if it does, we'll stop and start and stop, and I'll put it back up. But I wrote down 5 points, and I'm gonna try to get through these. They're a little interesting, but I'm gonna try to plow through them and not take too much time, so that we can talk about getting out of our slump. And if you want to tweet me, I am on Twitter and I will respond. I'm at Myleik, Myleik. As long as you ask me things that are relevant and genuine, I will definitely hit you back. It's not that I don't. Sometimes I just don't reply to everything because I don't have the time. But if you really have something that you want to say, or if there's a book that you read, or you've taken the time to listen to a lot of the podcasts, and you've read the hashtag Myleik Bookshare, I hashtag all the books I read there. There's still something outside of that. Shoot me a tweet or hit me on my Ask FM, and it's ask.fm / Myleik Teele, my whole name. First things first, I got my first point is understanding the life cycle. And so I'm very aware and very conscious to remind myself about life's ups and downs, and remembering that we are designed to feel a range of emotions. As a human being, you are here to have a range of emotions that we'll just say go from 0 to a 100. You're not going to always be at 100, and you're not going to always be at 0. And so you have to remember that when you're at either end of the spectrum, that let me cherish these happy times because they won't last, and let me remember not to get too far down in my slump, because that doesn't last either. And I remember one time I was having a conversation with my dad. It was maybe like 4 years ago, and I was just like, I had literally finally lifted my head up from probably one of my heaviest, most devastating, and darkest moments ever. And my dad had called to check on me to see how I was doing, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. And he said, bottle that feeling up. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I want you to bottle that feeling. I want you to contain it. I want you to have an imaginary container for these feelings that you have, because this feeling is not going to last forever. And when you don't feel good, I want you to go to your imaginary container and pull some of those good feelings out, to help you get out of that slump. And so I hope to share that with you. And remember that when you're feeling really high, go ahead and hold some of that, take a picture, write it down. And when you're in a really horrible place or a dark place and you're just not feeling the best about yourself, go back and read about that time or look at that picture. Remember, those moments, and remember that good feeling that didn't last forever, and your bad feeling is not going to last forever either. The next one is that I attempted to tackle the whole work slump, and I know that many of us are fatigued. If you are, there's so many different stages of, okay, I'm not even doing something that I love. And that's just really taking the responsibility and saying, if I'm not doing something that I love, I need to do something to change it. What can I do to change it? Okay, I have bills, I have this, I have that, but what can I be doing in the meantime to work on my goal, my dreams, my passions? And let me tell you something. If you need to quit what you're doing because you're doing something to appease other people, or you're doing something that looks good to the people on the outside, remember that the people on the outside are not living your life. And I always have to remind people that the amount of at which you think the outside people care about your life is not it's not even a comparison. You probably think that people care more about your life than they actually do, and I'm here to tell you that you do. Most people don't really care. They don't care. If anyone is criticizing your life, it's purely to say they're criticizing from a space of people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do critique others to make themselves feel better. So anybody who's critiquing what you're doing is to help them get through their day. It's purely selfish and it's not even about you. So remember that if you're doing something that you don't love because you're doing it for the outsiders, remember that they don't care. What would you do if they didn't care? And I'm telling you that they don't. So do what you want to do. So if you need to go take a job at Target at night to do what you need to do, then do that. If you really love interiors and you want to go work at Z Gallery or West Elm or whatever, so you can learn and get a discount on furniture and make money while doing your passions, do that. Do not be concerned about what people think because they don't care. And remember that everything happens in stages. And if you really want to be a makeup artist and you have to start at the Clinique counter or some, other counter at Macy's, honey, start where you can. Go where you can get in, and you will eventually learn from there, but you don't start at the top. So remember that. The other part of the work slump, so I have not doing what you want to do. I have another one, doing what you want to do, but not moving as fast as you think you should. Remember, I think I did something, my last podcast was about time and timing and understanding that everything takes time. As long as you're doing what you need to do, you're doing the research and all of that good stuff, just be patient with where you are, and it's easier said than done. I had a hard time with patience in the past. I kept feeling like I'm turning and I'm turning and I'm turning and nothing's happening, and then a whole bunch of stuff happened all at once, and I was just like, oh my God. I reminisce and wish I had those days when things were going very slow. So just remember that, when you have your moment and when things happen and they happen so fast, people always say more money, more problems, and I never believe that. But understand that that's a real statement, and it's a different set of problems, and it's a lot more problems than just feeling like I'm not where I want to be. It's like I am where I want to be, and this is not what I thought it was going to be. That's a reality, okay? That when you get there, you get to that point that you think you want to be at. There's usually 25 other things that you never prepare for that you're going to be dealing with forever. Final thing is that you are where you want to be and you're happy with the progress. You are where you want to be, and you're even fine with the pace at which you're moving, and you moving so fast that you're like me, you're just fatigued. And you know, it's hard when you get fatigued from just working yourself into the ground. And so um, I probably, who am I to try to tell you how to get out of that slump? And that's the slump that I'm in today. So I'm in that slump. I've always been very open and candid about what I do to deal with my issues. I went to therapy today, and so to just try to have the conversation and talk it out and see where I am with that. And when I say that I'm fatigued, that doesn't mean that, oh, I want to quit, or oh, this is too hard, or oh, I want to give up. It's just this recognition that when you push yourself, when you push yourself as hard as I do, and when you're as hard on yourself as I do, and even if you're producing great results, it's just tiresome. And listen, I've taken tons of vacations this year, so it's not like I don't know how to sort of reward myself, but I'm not taking any in the near future. So I have a lot going on, and I have a lot of work coming up, and a lot of sort of pressure points, like things that are going to be really important or heavy or weighted. And I will have to do a podcast and let you know what happens when I get out of that. But that's kind of where I am right now, just a little bit fatigued from putting all this crap on my plate, and reminding myself, like, why do you do this to yourself? All right, the next one is a life slump, and I will admit that I'm in a little bit of that too. Is a part of being on the tail end of that work fatigue and that stress and all that good stuff is the fact that so much of your personal life suffers. So much of your personal life suffers, and so that's the one thing that I hope to be very clear with people about is that I want you to know that all these people that you see online that you think are so successful and you are so impressed with what they're doing, that there's a great sacrifice that comes along with that. And something or things always suffer. Don't ever get that twisted. Like, you can have it all, but not all at once. And everybody experiences that. I don't care what it looks like. Something suffers. Something suffers. And so I have to remind myself, and so I'm going to remind you that everybody else everybody else's life is going to look better to you when you're in a slump. Remember that, okay? So whatever you can do to not start looking around, don't do that. And don't don't put yourself on any particular timelines of where you should be and what you should be doing for your age, for your size, for where you live, for whatever, If you're in it, just focus on you, focus on what you're doing, and celebrate yourself for exactly where you are right at this point, and recognizing that maybe you need to slow it down a little bit and go inward, reflect inside versus outside. The fourth one is that feeling that you get when it's like nothing seems to be working. I've tried everything. I've read every book. I've done every quote. I lost the weight. I quit the job. I got the job. I went back to school. I graduated. I moved to New York. I moved back home. And nothing's working. I want you to remember something right now, is that failure is progress. Failure is progress. That means that you did something, you tried something, and you found out what works and doesn't work. You found out what you like and don't like. And I'm telling you, that stands for something. These things mean you're trying and you're doing. And if you're not, being proactive in your life and you don't have a plan and you're just hoping, that's why nothing's working. So you need to remember that you can't look at people's life and then take the easy approach. Like, I'm going to just read that one book she read. I don't want to read all her books, but I'm just going to read one book that she read, and then I'm going to expect success. People kill me when they say, okay, yeah, you read all those books and everything, but I wanted you to give me 3 books that you think I can read for success or marketing or for this and that. And it's like, you can't do it in 3 books. Do I have a top 3 books? I do. But it doesn't work that way. You have to read them all and then some. You have to do it all and then some. There is no like secret way or shortcut. I'm telling you now, there is none. So if nothing's working, give it some time. Make sure that you've done everything that you should be doing. And if you fail, every time you do something and it doesn't work, check that off as something done. Okay, I did it. It didn't work, but I did it. Check. And number 5 is kind of fun. It's just to talk about being in a slump and kind of being down and depressed or whatever, is that sometimes, first of all, depression is real. And sometimes you can be depressed for absolutely no reason. Like, I'm just in a slump because I'm in a slump. Like, that's real and that can happen. And if you recognize that that's where you are, go get some help. If you can, go talk to someone and talk to a professional. Please do that. But if you kind of feel like, you know what, I'm not going to say that I'm just deeply depressed, but I'm just in a little bit of a funk. Some things that I like to do, I call them my quick fixes. My number 1 quick fix is sun. Vitamin D is so good for you, and getting out in the sun sometimes just changes the way that I feel about things. So if there's no sun where you're living, if you can scrap up your pennies and go to a place where it's going to be sunny for a long time, go to a place and get some sun, get some vitamin D. That's always good for you. My doctor told me when I went for my checkup a couple of weeks ago, she's an older Caucasian woman, probably like 60. She's like, I'm going to just say this to you because a lot of my African American patients, they don't like to go out in the sun because they tell me they don't want to get darker, but vitamin D is so good for you. And when you've got a good amount of vitamin D, all of your organs work better. And so she says, I want you to go out into the sun every day for 15 minutes without sunscreen. So I'm passing that along to you. Sometimes you need to change the pace of your routine. Sometimes you're in a slump because you've been doing the same thing over and over again every single day. And even if what you're doing is good, you need to change your pace. And so sometimes I'll do that too. Like, I worked out last night instead of in the morning. And I felt so good when I came home last night because I guess my endorphins were up from working out, and I did an outdoor warm up. So I got to run out on the street. It was just it was a good feeling, and I was like, wow, I feel better because I've been in a slump for a little bit, maybe a week or two, three, four, I don't know. And just, changing my pace, changing my routine of what I'm doing kind of got me off that. And another thing you can do is just take a day off. Sometimes you don't realize the value of just taking a day, even if it's a random Wednesday or a Sunday. Call off work, and just stay home and just stay on the couch, or take the day off and do something that you want to do for yourself, just to kind of break this up. And if you feel like you need to, take 2 days. Sometimes I would take 2 days off because two is better than one. And sometimes when I'm feeling in a slump, I'll try something new. I'll challenge myself. I'll stretch myself in a different direction. I'll do something that forces me to think so much or try so hard that I kind of gotten my mind off whatever little slump that I'm in. And the final thing, and I always remind you to treat yourself really well. If you're not feeling good, don't continue to beat yourself up. And so go buy yourself flowers, go do something really nice for yourself, go shopping, go have something really nice, get yourself a nice bottle of wine, treat yourself to a nice dinner or some good takeout, or take the time to make your favorite meal that you typically don't make because it just takes too much time, and just remind yourself that you're worth it. And so that is my sort of quick hit on getting out of a slump. If you want to talk about it a little bit more, always tweet me, and we'll talk about it more, or we'll do another one on the further slump. Have a good night.